Hello, listeners of What's Up Wednesday. I'm Toby Coombs, and this is Duel Review. Today we are going to talk about two movies. The first movie is going to be Ready Player One, and the second one is going to be Isle of Dogs. If the upload date is correct, this will be my first podcast. So hi. The first movie we're going to be talking about today is Ready Player One. It is about how in the near future, technology will get to a point where people would rather live in it than live in the real world. The protagonist, Wade Watts, lives in a slum-like area called the Stacks. It is made of multiple RVs topped on top of each other because gas prices are too high and there's not enough space to live. A big company in this movie called Gregarious Games has created a simulation greater and has larger possibilities than the real world. The simulation is called the Oasis, and it is used by almost everyone in the movie. It leads to many people spending most of their time inside of the Oasis. The Oasis has become so crucial in the movie that it's used for both school, work, and living in general. This movie is based on a book that shares the same name and has some of the main problems. An example of this is that both the book and the movie share the same problem of having a boring protagonist in a world much greater than he is. This is shown in the book when the first third of it is dedicated to building the world with barely any development of the main character. This poses a major problem, but can be overlooked if you don't think about it. In the movie, the creator of Gregarious Games and the Oasis, James Halliday, passes away. When he dies, he leaves with him something called the Easter egg. The egg requires 3 keys and 3 gates. Each one poses a different challenge, and each one is very different from the book. The movie and the book are very different, but very similar in many ways. An example of this is in the gates and keys. Without going too much into spoilers, the first key, in the book, he was required to play the arcade game Joust against someone called the Lich, but in the movie, there was a high-speed race that the only way to win it was to drive backwards. One of the greatest successes in this movie was with the CGI and references. Especially watching it the second time after I read the book, I noticed a lot more minor references and focused less on the problems and more on the references and hidden details present in the movie. Even though it was present through most of the movie, it was really detailed and consistent. Unlike a lot of movies, it didn't take you out of the movie that the characters were CGI. Instead, it put you more into it. The first time I watched this movie, I enjoyed it less than the second because I didn't read the book the first time, but on the second, not only did I read it, I enjoyed it thoroughly. Also, since I saw it the first time, the second time was also more enjoyable because of the fact that instead of focusing on the problems like I did in the first movie, I was able to slow down and focus more on the backgrounds and all the hidden references throughout it. I am going to put a spoiler warning for the next section because we are going in depth on the plot and go further beyond. Assuming that you've seen it, I will go on now. I found the quarter scene really dumb in this movie because it acted more as a deus ex machina, saving the protagonist last second even though the catalyst dropped. Unlike in the book, where the quarter was paved with mystery, being something that no one's ever found in a hidden area, the movie made it just get one of the characters just gave it to him, which made it seem out of nowhere when it helped. Also, I thought that Artemis's relationship with the protagonist, Parsifal, felt really rushed, and I feel that nobody would be like that in real life. It seemed too forced, considering the second time they met, he already proclaimed his love to her. Unlike in the book, where when innovative online industries, the antagonist discovers about Wayne's address, it seems more of a surprise in the book compared to in the movie, where they just tell you outright before the scene. Besides its downfalls, I really enjoyed this movie, and I would recommend it to people who are just looking to have fun in a movie experience. Overall, I would give this movie a 7 out of 10. The next movie we are going to be talking about today is Isle of Dogs, the new Wes Anderson movie. People often compare this movie to Fantastic Mr. Fox because it's a Wes Anderson movie that's stop-motion animated. But I can say that this movie is has a lot different there. I can say that this movie is a lot more different than Fantastic Mr. Fox compared to what others are saying. It feels like it has different motives behind it and has a more serious theme. Something I would like to get out the way first is that most children probably won't enjoy this movie. It is less playful and less comedic than Fantastic Mr. Fox, which I feel would work for children. I was highly impressed by this movie's stop-motion animation, and besides the stilted dialogue that plagued a lot of the scenes, it made the movie look a lot better. Besides having a simplistic plot and the stilted dialogue, like I mentioned, this movie was really enjoyable, and it's a recommendation for people who either enjoy Wes Anderson movies or just want something to watch. This movie has some questionable choices, though, such as a lot of the voice actors sounding similar, and combined with the stilted dialogue, it makes it hard to distinguish between them. Since this movie is set in Japan, a lot of the dialogue is in Japanese. It has some subtitles, and can sometimes take you out of the movie, but it's usually managed. Another way they translate the dialogue is having an English-speaking news channel that plays throughout the movie. Besides its faults, this movie was an enjoyable watch, and I give it an 8 out of 10. One more thing I would like to talk about today is recommendations. If you have any movie you want me to review next week, comment down below the movie, and I might check it out. And finally, I want to end this off with something I like to call the cool thing of the week. Since I can't think of anything right now, let's just say the cool thing of the week this week is this podcast. That's Toby, and we're signing out.